Hey, hello, howdy, how you doing? Welcome to the supercut of my Star Wars Battlefront 2 Galactic Conquest series, where I go back and play through each of the 4 Galactic Conquests, but am forced to restart the entire conquest every time I die. This video contains the condensed versions of all 4 episodes of that series, all crammed into one big video for a better viewing experience. If nothing else, it's great second monitor background noise while you do whatever it is that you do on the internet. But yeah, I've gone ahead and removed the intros and outros from all but the very first episode, as well as cleaned up some audio bugs, tweaked a few scenes, and added an editor's note over a piece of information that I got wrong initially. Everything is chaptered as well, so if you've seen one of them and don't feel like rewatching it, you can simply skip it and move on to the others. My only ask is that while you're down there searching for the timestamp, you go ahead and like the video, and shit, maybe even subscribe so you don't miss more of this kind of content. With that, I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. This game was my childhood, so thank you for giving me the platform to revisit one of the most influential video games in my life. I usually save this for the end, but because this is a longer video, I just wanted to say that I appreciate you all. Make sure you call a loved one today, and until next time, thanks for stopping by. Alright, let's get into it. I've been on a massive Star Wars kick lately, so I figured it's time to revisit what is perhaps the greatest Star Wars game to ever exist. Star Wars Battlefront 2 is widely regarded as one of the most beloved video games of all time. Releasing all the way back in 2005, it offered a variety of gameplay features consisting of a fully canon campaign following the 501st Legion throughout the Clone Wars and into the Galactic Empire. This game also brought along the famous Galactic Conquest that allows you to play as any major army across the, at the time, 6 major Star Wars movies. Want to play as the Empire and squash some rebel scum? You can do that. Want to roll around as a droideka and take over the galaxy as the Trade Federation? You can do that. You also have the ability to play as hero characters like Jedi, Sith Lords, bounty hunters, all that fun stuff. Much like most of the fanbase, 8-year-old me was completely enamored by the Galactic Conquest game mode. If you've recently received a lobotomy and have forgotten what that was, you could try simply reading the name. That'd do it. To keep it simple, you get a map of the galaxy, and take turns moving cruisers to planets in order to attack or defend them. The game ends when you or your enemy control each planet in the galaxy. There's several characters you can unlock with credits earned from winning and even losing battles, along with bonuses that you can apply on a per-battle basis. It's, in my opinion, the greatest gameplay loop ever implemented in a shooter, except for maybe Operations in Battlefield 1. And if I can be real for a second, this game single-handedly made my childhood. I have so many memories of playing through the campaign, staying up until 3 or 4 in the morning with my buddies doing a split-screen Galactic Conquest against each other, unlocking all of the special weapons you can get by earning those medals at the end of the games. It's just an amazing game, regardless of how badly they fucked up the re-release. So today, I thought it'd be a ton of fun to sit down and try to beat an entire Galactic Conquest without dying. Years of training has led to this moment. I'll start as a simple clone trooper, and through the power of war crimes and violating a pretend document that doesn't exist in the vacuum of space, I will strategically shit-stomp the droid armies until we have peace, freedom, justice, and security in our new empire. Now, I will be playing with the enemy level set to Elite, and on the PC, you can set the units per team up to 32, instead of 16, which was the default on the PlayStation 2 back in the day. I also made a new account for this since I've played Battlefront so much that I have most of the special weapons permanently unlocked on my main profile, and to be honest, that probably just wouldn't be fair to play through with. One last note here. This was all heavily inspired by a YouTuber named FrogArchist, who recently did a challenge run similar to this, but on the campaign. Instead of doing his method of restarting the mission on death though, I will have to restart the entire campaign. Why? Well, sure, it's partially because I'm a masochist who enjoys pain and suffering, but also because I just love this game, and if anything, it gives me an excuse to play more of it. Honestly, the biggest detractor from this is the fact that I'm not allowed to play any music from the OST out of fear that, if I do, Disney will smash through my walls like the fucking Kool-Aid Man and sell me into slavery on some third world remote island. I'm getting sidetracked though. Back to the map. This is what we're working with. I want to say there's 10 major planets we need to capture, which is certainly doable. Now, I feel like most people go right ahead and buy a new trooper type, but I always like to purchase a second ship and immediately go on the offensive, starting with Tatooine. We only have one troop type, but so do the droids. The plan was very simple. Get a bunch of meat shields to follow me, and then just run around the outskirts. Surely this was a recipe for success, and nothing bad could possibly happen in the very first battle of the— oh my god. Alright, second attempt. We're going with a new strategy here. I still purchased a ship over Camino, but instead of attacking Tatooine like last time, I took my original ship to Mygeeto. If you don't know where that is, it's where that big-headed alien fuck gets lit up, because actions do have consequences in this world, and being a dumbass on the Jedi Council will inevitably come back to haunt you. Anyway, much like the first attempt, I tried to keep a few soldiers by me at all times, but I realized that, at least on this new account, I can only have one soldier by me instead of 4 like I was used to, which made it a bit more difficult to make any real pushes for objectives. So instead, I focused on attrition, mainly pushing up the left side of the rings. Things weren't looking too good, and as our reinforcements were being depleted, I took a stray blaster shot to the skull, ending my run early yet again. I've gotta come up with a better strategy. For my third attempt, I purchased a heavy trooper instead of another ship, but didn't realize that I'd started at Camino instead of Coruscant, meaning this was a complete waste of a buy right now. That didn't really matter at the moment though, it's time for the first victory of the run. Honestly, I thought this was gonna be the one. Maybe I'm just being too aggressive though. I was just so used to having all those buffs and damage boosts and stronger weapons that this really threw me off in the first runs. This was the start I was hoping for. Same strategy as before with purchasing a heavy trooper, but this time they'll actually be useful from the get-go. Everything looked like it was going really well. I was able to capture a command post, swap to a heavy trooper and destroy the turrets, and even began pushing into the back objective to effectively surround the droids.
Our reinforcements are being depleted.
Those damn wrist rockets, man, I'm telling ya. 5th time's the charm, right? Honestly, I just need to win one and I'd be happy. We started back on Camino, so I went ahead and bought the Clone Engineer Trooper and attacked Tatooine again. Oh, for fuck's sake. I really don't remember it being this difficult on the PS2. This is insanity. On to the 6th attempt. We started with Naboo, but I tried a different approach this time. Instead of buying another class or a destroyer, I went with back-to-tank injections. That way, I'll always be healing myself at all times. It should make this a bit more manageable. We're also starting with a Dagobah invasion. If that sounds familiar, it's the planet where Yoda got so tired of Luke's bitching that he just straight up died. If I'm learning anything about these earlier runs though, it's that holy shit do these guys love their wrist rockets. Is that the difference between normal and elite? Elite difficulty is just spamming wrist rockets like nobody's business? Alright, I'm just gonna stop talking until I get a win, and I'll let you know how long it takes. If you're new here, I write my scripts live, which is why the first, 7 to 10 minutes of this video is just me dying and getting progressively more pissed off each time. So enjoy this little montage of deaths, I guess.
Another command post under Republic control. They're losing reinforcements. Keep it up. Clone, watch your fire! The Republic is in control of a command post.
Admittedly, this was very humbling. I was honestly expecting to come in here, record the entire video in like 3 or 4 hours, and get this out within 2 to 3 days, but after spending the last 3 hours getting absolutely skull-fucked before getting my first victory, this is gonna be an uphill battle. At least we finally have Oppido though. It looks like the Separatists are aiming for Naboo, so I moved one fleet in position to hit Yavin 4 or Kashyyyk, but I don't want to do either of those until I have heavy troopers, so in the meantime, it's back to Tatooine. My strategy for this was pretty simple. Capture the bar right away, and then hang back and let the rest of the troopers whittle down their numbers. Of course, by hang back, I mean sit around just outside of the bar and take on any droids making their way over. The great thing about Tatooine is that as the numbers dwindle, you can find the remaining enemies usually hiding in turrets, which are super easy to destroy. But with that, we've officially won 2 games in a row. Now it's over to Naboo for our first defensive battle of the playthrough. Unfortunately for us, we got stuck with the infamous corner. If you don't know what the infamous corner is, there's a spot on Naboo where if you have the 3rd command post in the top left corner of the map, your troops will just run to it and all group up, effectively shoving themselves in this tiny little corner over here. All it takes is one nade to effectively wipe out a dozen soldiers. Of course, the added issue with this is the more troops you have fisting each other in the corner, the less troops you have fighting on the battlefield.
Reinforcements are being depleted.
As the numbers continued dropping, I grabbed a 2nd command post just so I'd have time to take another if the first was grabbed, and then hopped in a tank to hunt down the remaining droids. Or rather, that was the plan, until I realized that the tanks blow up if you take their objective. With that information, I just started grabbing command posts, cautiously working my way through the map until, eventually, I saw this. Shout out Infamous Corner for coming in clutch. Now at that point, there was only one enemy left, so I set about grabbing the remaining objectives to force a victory that way, finding the last droid hiding at their final command post. Using the credits obtained from the 2 attacks and successful defense of Naboo, I purchased the heavy troopers and a back-to-tank bonus. I don't think I'm ready to head to Geonosis yet, so instead, I opted to head back to Yavin 4 and conquer the planets up in the top right of the galaxy. This fight was, without a doubt, the most difficult of the playthrough so far. I hopped in a tank and tried to burn through as many droids as possible, but it simply didn't matter. I'd look up at the score and we'd be down 20 or 30 reinforcements like it was nothing. And before I knew it, we were almost entirely capped and down to just a few soldiers.
Hostiles have gained a command post. The command post is now under hostile control.
I was barely able to make it back and recapture our spawn objective before time expired, but looked up to realize that I was the only survivor left. And as it stood now, I didn't have any tanks to climb in, meaning I was gonna have to fight back on foot. Granted, all I had to do was sit back and wait. The enemy would come to me. This would be my Alamo, and I'd defend it with my life. Even after running out of ammo, I swapped to my pistol and continued repelling the droid attack, slowly chipping away at their numbers. Eventually, the droids were almost able to overrun me, but luckily for me, one of them dropped some ammo after exploding, so I used that to fend off the remaining attackers. I felt like that red trooper in the old Clone Wars cartoon. You know the one I'm talking about? During the attack on Coruscant, when he just was holding the line by himself? What a badass. Anyway, they're down to just a few droids, but they're guarding the exit with two big-ass tanks. This was a now or never moment, so I took a deep breath and booked it for the nearest tank to hopefully take them both on. Now, I seriously have no clue how I survived that, but I'm happy I did. There was another fresh tank nearby, so I swapped over to that and began hunting down the final enemy, destroying them near an objective. And I was not expecting to have a 74 kill game ever in this playthrough, but I'm proud of it. With Yavin 4 under our control, we're officially up to 6 of the 13 planets conquered. We're getting into their personal space a bit, which means they can do something like spawn a new destroyer and immediately counterattack. All of this to say, it's time for our first space battle. Now, personally, I love space battles in Battlefront 2, and tend to go with a pretty cookie-cutter method every time. First, I like to take out the enemy frigates. Once those are gone, I land in the enemy hangar, blow up their life support, their engines, and then take out their auto turret defenses. By that point, we've either won or almost won, so all I do then is hide out in their generator room and kill any droids that walk in on me. Now that we've got the droids on their heels, it's time to keep pressing. I purchased the Engineer class and the Combat Shielding bonus and began the ground invasion of Felucia.
Combat shielding bonus purchased. All fleets awaiting orders, sir. Commencing Felucia invasion.
My favorite way to go about this map is to spawn in and immediately go for the 5th objective. You can climb up the side of a tree right here and jump onto the command post that way, effectively avoiding an uphill fight around a winding pathway. This is where the Engineer shines though. You can one-shot most of the time if you hit them in the center, but you do risk also getting one-shotted by a wrist rocket at close range. Luckily, Engineers can also drop health and ammo packs, so you can stack that to have 2 or 3 times your normal health. Pair that with combat shielding and you're damn near unstoppable. My game plan really revolves around holding this command post. The enemy can only come up through one pathway, and it's very easy to hold, so I just sat back and let them come to me while the rest of the clones did the heavy lifting. You can also chuck these Star Wars brand C4 packs off the side of the hill and kill droids that way, which is always a lot of fun. Seeing that we were losing, I hopped into a droid tank and started to fight our way back into the battle, but was forced to retreat back to the hilltop after seeing that I was the lone survivor yet again.
Set 'em up and knock 'em down.
Easy dubs. After securing Felucia, it was over to Kamino to defend the planet. I didn't go into this with any boosts, but I was pretty confident all things considered. All I really needed to do was avoid the middle of the map, since all anyone does is yeet grenades and wrist rockets into that area anyway. Instead, I opted to flank around the right side and put pressure on their easy spawn command post. This is the closest one they have to the center of the map, so if I could take it, we'd gain a major advantage, as we'd control the 3 center rings. It took a bit of luck and calling upon all my Helldivers training, but I was able to solo cap this command post. Next is the back right one. This is typically where the droids make their last stand at the end of the match, but if I could cap it now, it'd force them into the clone chambers, where we could easily slaughter the rest of them. This was much easier said than done though, and I found myself simply trying to just hold the line against waves of enemies. There's very little cover at this command post, and the droids love to sit in these turrets that can two-shot you in the blink of an eye. I tried like hell to hold it, but after a minute or so, I was almost dead, so I fled back to the lower level to heal up a bit. While healing up, I realized that we were kinda kicking the shit out of the droids, so I bitched out and ran back to spawn, letting the other troopers handle them. I've made it so damn far already that I really want to avoid an unnecessary death over a battle we've all but won already. This is what I meant by they love to sit back on the turrets in the top right. There's only 2 enemies left, so I made my way over there and took care of them. With Camino successfully defended, it was back on the attack, this time on Kashyyyk. I went ahead and bought a sniper class along with combat shielding and enhanced blasters, though I'm gonna save that one for another time. My favorite method here is to spawn on the beach and use the cannon to destroy the enemy tanks. We already have ground superiority with the Wookiees, so there's no need to go down there. I'm much more effective if I can keep the enemy tanks from rolling onto the beach, allowing us to maintain superiority that way and letting the Wookiees clean up any droids that make it through the water. When the turret had too much damage done to it, I'd simply pop out and start sniping the droids on the beach. Might have been the easiest battle so far. 45 kills in just under 6 minutes. I'll take it. We now find ourselves in control of over half of the planets in the galaxy, and the best attack the Separatists are able to come up with is another space battle over Tatooine. Same plan as last time. Blow up their frigates, land on their destroyer, cause chaos. I did almost fuck up here after destroying their auto turret defenses and taking a shit ton of damage from some enemy droids, but the clones came in clutch and finished off the 180 point requirement before I even made it to the engines room. At this point, I'm 100% confident in my ability to win space battles, so I kept my one destroyer positioned over Tatooine while I moved my second one from Kashyyyk and began positioning it closer to Naboo. That way, I can move them together, effectively forming a massive wall that the droids would have to break through to even touch one of my planets. In the meantime, they should just continue to take the bait and keep attacking us on Tatooine. See what I mean? I went with the sabotage bonus for this battle since I don't like raiding the enemy ship with a squad, but here's how it works. All of their vehicles are extremely damaged, Instead of repairing them though, they all flock to the ships, get in them, and then sit in those ships until the repairs are completed at a much slower rate. Sometimes they take off and try to fly out, but they're usually shot down almost immediately. So best case scenario, they fly out and get lit up before even reaching our frigates. Worst case, they sit in their ships and do nothing, giving us complete control and a massive head start in disabling their shields from the outside.
Their auto-turret defenses have been disabled. Our communications relay has been destroyed. Their life support systems have been destroyed.
GG's. With both Naboo and Tatooine defended, they have no choice but to keep trying these space battles. I'm not sure if this was a glitch or what, but the space battle spawned me with 2 LAAT gunships, so I'm not going to use either of them, but I thought that was weird, especially considering they're not even on the landing pads. Anyway, back to business as usual.
Turret defenses have been disabled. Their life support systems have been destroyed. Score 1 for the Republic.
Now that my ships are in position, it's time to hit the enemy capital, Geonosis. For this, I went with back-to-tanks, opting to save the enhanced blasters for Dagobah. We're outnumbered here, so it's worth keeping that in mind. Just like how we had the Wookiees on Kashyyyk, the droids have the Geonosian bugs here. For this battle, I used 2 class types, starting with the basic clone trooper. It's important to capture the hill on the right side and maintain control of the high ground. That should be a given considering the outcome of Revenge of the Sith, but just in case. From there, it's pushing the droids back with the clone trooper before swapping to a heavy trooper to deal with enemy vehicles. Now while taking on said enemy vehicles, my position was overrun and I had to battle back to the command post, almost dying in the process.
The enemy has taken a command post. Our second wave of troops is being depleted. Our reinforcements are being depleted.
By the time I'd reclaimed it, we were down to just over a dozen reinforcements, meaning it'd once again fall on my shoulders to win this fight. and I found the final droid way back towards our spawn, hiding under our artillery. Another win for the Republic. Once again, the droids tried to counterattack with a space battle, and once again, we repelled them without any issues.
Have been destroyed. Score 1 for the Republic.
With all the credits we'd earned from those previous battles, I purchased a clone commander class and subsequently flung them right into battle on Dagobah. The battle for Dagobah was a roller coaster. We made the initial push for an open objective, only to lose it to the droids almost immediately. Most of the fighting centered around here though. Here's how it would work. I'd push in, kill 7 or 8 droids, get wounded, retreat back to Yoda's house and heal up, repeat. On the bright side, I'm now getting the burst rifle almost all the time, so the fighting became a lot easier once I whipped that out. It took a few hours, but I'd finally learned to just be patient and let my troops do some of the lifting for me. Granted, I'd be able to load them up with bonuses now for every single battle, but still. We now have control over 9 of the 12 planets in the galaxy. In preparation of some wild battles to come, I purchased the Enhanced Blasters bonus, Back to Tanks, and Garrison. Up next, Utapau.
Commencing Utapau invasion. Select a bonus for this battle. Enhanced blaster bonus activated.
As the battle started, I grabbed a few extra troops and pushed up the left flank. I was prepared for a lengthy battle to reach the top, but we actually managed to kind of just steamroll through everyone, even managing to hijack an enemy tank to use to our advantage. And by that, I mean we spawn killed them for several minutes like this was fucking Nuketown, before finding and killing the remaining droid soldiers.
Second wave of troops being depleted.
As we were busy taking Utapau, the Separatists were busy sneaking around the Outer Rim and hitting Coruscant in a surprise invasion. This truly was an even fight though, as both sides elected to use back-to-tank bonuses. If I can be honest though, I love Coruscant. It's one of my all-time favorite maps in Battlefront 2. The center of the map is a giant shit show. The side lanes are awesome, and the soldiers take cover behind the pillars. The library is fantastic, and you have that whole second floor balcony area. I love everything about this map. Hell, even the initial charge from the spawn is just epic. So it should come as no surprise that we absolutely dominated. After the initial push, I swapped over to a clone commander and led a detachment along the left flank to completely overwhelm the enemy forces, securing an easy victory for the clones.
Command post is under Republic control. Enemy reinforcements are decreasing. Being depleted. One shot, one kill.
Galaxy-wide victory is inevitable. All the Separatists can do is hurl battleships at me, but those fall completely flat when I consider space battles to be my easiest fights. This battle was pretty interesting though, just because of how fast everything happened. I was able to do my normal routine, take out their frigate, land in the hangar, auto turrets, life support, engines, but I still had like 30 points to go after blowing up their engines. Now, thankfully, I'd earned my precision pistol by then, so I simply walked out into the hangar and went to town on all of the droids just waiting around.
Score 1 for the Republic.
Aside from Yavin 4, Polis Massa might be the most difficult battle of the playthrough. If you don't know, there's really just one lane that everyone rushes down, and it's just grenades and wrist rockets. The goal is to get in there, score a few dozen kills, and then dip out to let the clones finish everything off. It's not even so much that it's difficult as it is sketchy and unpredictable. All it takes is one random grenade or wrist rocket and the run is over. It doesn't help that both teams went back to tanks either. As the Lane of Death killbox was underway, I continuously bounced in, chucked all my nades, and retreated to the tank room where I got to watch some epic battles take place from just outside the airlock. Unfortunately, I completely forgot that once the droids capture the center command post, this becomes a spawn location for them. Now, I was able to kill about 3 of the freshly spawned droids before one of them got into the tank, forcing me to flee back to the edge of the map. After gathering my bearings, I took a side passage and outflanked the droids, allowing me to farm kills off of them while the rest of the clones began pushing back through the alley, allowing us to eventually retake the command post. In retaliation for taking Polis Massa, the Separatists launched one final attack to attempt and regain control of Dagobah, using enhanced blasters to do so. This scared me a bit initially, since I didn't want to walk into a shotgun blast with that bonus and end up redoing the entire campaign, so I did what any wimp would do, threw on the garrison bonus and let the clones carry me to victory. Don't get me wrong, I did take a few attempts to fight back, but look at how quickly I get melted. Once our garrison was deployed, I simply ran behind Yoda's house and hid until the battle was over. No way in hell I was about to risk this entire playthrough over a landmine I didn't see. With only one battle remaining, I set my sights on Mustafar and began the ground invasion.
All leader is commanding our forces. Enemy forces have deployed auto turrets. Bullseye! Close! Watch your fire! Sniper, get down!
After several minutes of fighting, a hero joined the battlefield, leading the clone troopers to victory over the Separatists once and for all. I can't play the music at the end since it'll get copyright claimed, but how awesome is this? Like, a full in-game cutscene showing the Jedi being victorious and ending the Sith, along with bringing peace to the galaxy. Games back then were so fucking good, dude. Anyway, here are the career stats from this playthrough. 641 kills, 0 deaths, 1,367 player points, achieving me the rank of Sergeant. A lot of my core strategy for this run remained the same, especially with space battles. Take out the frigates, land on the enemy ship, destroy their life support and engines, cash out, bro down. The problem with this method is that, for whatever reason, the rebels are all expert pilots. Like, I'm not kidding. Their X-Wing pilots were hunting me as soon as I left my own destroyer and caused me to have to re-land multiple times just to make repairs. It got to the point where, in some space battles, I'd just skip on the frigates entirely and head directly for the enemy destroyer. But that was risky too, because the rebels loved to sit around their ship and just wait for me. For comparison, during the Clone Wars, I was averaging something like 6 to 10 kills per space battle. For the Empire run, I was averaging close to 40 kills per space battle. That being said, a win's a win.
Well done, gentlemen.
Now, I had the choice between Dagobah and Utapau for this, but decided to take the easier fight and avoid the shithole planet that is Dagobah in favor of the much easier Utapau. For whatever reason, the rebels grabbed a hero bonus, but since this game was made in 2005 and NPCs were idiots back then, they couldn't figure out how to use said hero bonus, meaning they just wasted 800 points for the love of the game. Thankfully for us, the rebels are the type of dipshit to think that if they just throw themselves at a tank, eventually we'll just get stuck on the bodies. Which is to say that, much like the Republic grind, I got to essentially turn this portion of the map into shipment from Modern Warfare, and spawn kill some rebel scum for most of the fight. After I got bored of that, I moved to the open area on the right side of the map and rained down bullets and thermal detonators until the battle was won.
I want those rebels dead. We've lost control of a command post. They're trying to flank us. Nice finish, trooper. Halt!
With 2 wins under my belt, I was feeling confident. That was, until the rebels grew some balls and launched a surprise invasion on Endor. I feel like the normal strategy is to just keep a destroyer over it so you have a buffer to stop the ground assault, since the rebels get to use Ewoks. But I'm an idiot and forgot to do that. I'm not gonna lie, I was sweating my dick off for this battle. I threw on a garrison bonus to give me some room to work with, and tried to focus the majority of the fight around one of the middle command posts. The reason for this was because I could force the rebels and furries to fight me out in the open field, instead of getting assaulted in the bushes like any other Catholic church camp. And I gotta say, it kinda worked out. Had I done this over again, I would have probably taken chat's advice and hid in one of the bunkers, waiting for the enemy to creep on over and fight them, similar to the setup I had on Yavin 4 with the clones. But this was way more exciting. The entire fight was thrown into a constant state of chaos. Obviously, it doesn't help that the rebels are camouflaged, but when they began to overwhelm me, I could just retreat to the health droid and hide behind that while recovering and returning fire. All in all, a stressful but manageable victory for the Empire. Immediately following the defense of Endor, I bought and stationed a destroyer fleet over the planet. This would remain there for the rest of the playthrough. One Endor battle is more than enough for me. To continue the gauntlet, I grabbed back to tank bonuses and invaded Dagobah. My mindset here was simple: get the hard battles out of the way early, and then coast through the easy planets. I will say, I'm not used to spawning on this side of the map though. Since getting back into the game a few weeks ago, I'm almost solely spawned in by Yoda's hut, so it was a weird feeling to be on the opposite end of the battlefield. It was also the first time during this revisit, at least that I can remember, where I was actively losing on Dagobah. With the clones, it just felt like I needed to survive the endless wrist rocket spam, and eventually we'd come out on top. But with the Empire, the rebels feel like a massive step up compared to the droids. Either that or the stormtroopers are just ass at everything, target practice included. Now even with back-to-tanks, this was a brutal fight, and probably would have been one that I didn't survive had I not used the back-to-tanks bonus. Even after all of the heavy fighting, I still found myself as a lone survivor, putting up another last stand in the back of the map. The plan for this was pretty simple though. Let the enemy come to me by leaving the command post. They'll inevitably come to capture it, alerting me to their position, which then allows me to swoop in, gun them down, and hide again. When we were down to a 1v1 with the planet on the line, I swapped over to an engineer and found the last rebel soldier defending Luke's X-Wing. Poor bastard never stood a chance. For the next battle, I had to choose between Polis Massa and Naboo. Since it was one turn to Naboo versus backtracking to Polis Massa, I chose to just keep moving forward. Similar to Dagobah, I went with back-to-tanks, which is something you're probably gonna see in almost every battle going forward. Luckily, since we're attacking, we don't have to deal with the infamous corner and can actually use it to our advantage by securing a rebel command post. This will force them to only spawn near that corner. Sure, they have enhanced blasters, but it doesn't really make a difference if half of their soldiers are stuck attempting to get to platform 9 3/4. This is what I was talking about though. If you can take the nearest objective, they'll lose the courtyard and be forced to only spawn near the infamous corner. Not only will they be fully sandwiched from both sides, but most of their troops will simply get stuck on the wall, putting them in an unwinnable position.
Victory is within our grasp. Hostile reinforcement count.
Following our victory over Naboo, we pushed into the open space and targeted a string of planets in the bottom right of the galaxy. Seeing an opportunity to fuck me over yet again, the rebels sent their own fleet to engage us in another space battle. This time, however, I was able to destroy the frigates and land in the hangar pretty easily. It was only after I got out that I realized why. Almost all of the pilots were just dicking around in the destroyer still, causing me to fight for my life.
Their shields have been disabled.
It got so bad that at one point I had to hop back into my own bomber and move to the other side of the hangar just in order to heal up without getting gunned down. Hell, they got so fed up with me that they eventually just started firing rockets at me. By the time I'd blown up their life support, we were only a few points from victory, so I just sat back with my precision pistol and mowed down a few more pilots until the battle was won.
The day is ours. Well done, gentlemen.
I could have gone for Kashyyyk here, but I chose Tatooine instead, so I wouldn't have to backtrack later on. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of Mos Eisley though. It's covered in sand, and I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere. It's okay, guys. I'll throw myself out the window. In all seriousness, Mos Eisley is a very easy map to beat. Mainly because the enemy always seems to be more preoccupied with camping all of the turrets than taking the objectives.
Nice finish, trooper. He's coming around.
After grabbing the bar, I pushed out to help give us a decent lead before beginning the loop back around through the town and clearing out any enemy turrets I came across.
We've lost the command post. Fight for it.
The issue with this method, though, is that the damn Jawas just run over and repair the turrets right away, so instead of blowing them up, I just sat back and farmed any rebel troops that jumped into them. Hell, I even hopped into one myself to see what all the fuss was about. And I gotta say, I get it.
Victory is within our grasp.
With the final enemy fighting for his life in a turret, I went ahead and capped the final command post and let my fellow stormtroopers deal with the insurrectionist.
To the command post. Hostile rein...
With Tatooine under our control, we've officially passed the halfway mark for galactic supremacy. The only two planets I'm really worried about at this point are Polis Massa and Felucia. But I have plans for both of those. Before we get to those, though, it's over to Coruscant to defend from another rebel invasion attempt. God, that charge never gets old. Anyway, after the initial engagement, I fell back and swapped to an engineer before continuing my push down the left flank. Resistance was stiff, and I really considered moving back to just a regular infantry trooper, but decided against it and began setting C4 traps for the rebels.
Victory is ours.
Eventually, through several Geneva Convention violations, we were able to turn the tide and push the rebels back, securing another successful defense for the Empire.
Empire. The enemy is losing.
Now, it's time to go back on the offensive. In preparation for the Kashyyyk invasion, I purchased the Scout Trooper, Bacta-tanks, and Enhanced Blasters.
Sector tank bonus purchase.
That'll have to wait though, as the rebels launched another invasion attempt on Endor. Thankfully, that fleet I'd stationed there earlier was able to intercept them, leading to yet another space battle. Much like every other space battle in this playthrough, I almost died after an X-Wing squadron appeared out of fucking nowhere and decided to drop their entire loadout onto me. But thankfully, I was able to survive, destroy their frigates, and land in their destroyer.
That frigate has been destroyed.
And just like every other time I've landed in a rebel destroyer, I was immediately met with gunfire, forcing me to yet again fly to the other end of the hangar and fight for my life until receiving my precision pistol.
Great shooting.
I still think it's insane that I'm having to average almost 30 more kills than the first Galactic Conquest when it comes to space battles. You gotta give it to them. The rebels fight tooth and nail for their ships compared to the droids, who would just basically hand it over to me. I think I know why though. The rebel hangar is much smaller than the separatist one, so it's likely that there were just more droids in the hangar fucking around, whereas the rebel hangar is pretty small, forcing most of the extra troops to hang out inside the ship. But as we all know, it's not about the size of the ship, but rather how the ship is utilized.
Today is ours. Well done, gentlemen.
Enough of that though, it's time for the Felucia invasion. In all honesty, I was pretty nervous for this. Mainly because I died here like 3 times in a row on stream, ending some pretty solid runs. So instead of going with my tried and true method, I opted to go the bitch route and hang back with an engineer, taking small shots at the rebels as they approached, but otherwise leaving them be and relying heavily on the rest of my army to carry their weight for once. Of course, this was never gonna really work out considering the rebels have some insanely powerful tanks against ground troops, so even when it felt like I was crushing it, I'd look up and see the score was basically tied. This was definitely a battle that I would have lost without the engineer class though. Being able to just spam health packs made me damn near unstoppable, even when I was taking rounds from several rebels. It was this battle where I believe I may have pulled off the greatest stunt in not just this playthrough, but quite possibly my entire time spent on Battlefront 2 over the last 20 years. Words won't do it justice, so I'll just let it play out for you.
Great shooting! And stay down! We've lost control of a command post.
Hey, watch it!
The command post has fallen to our enemies. We're losing reinforcements.
This single-handedly won us the battle. Not because it turned the tide or anything, but because it secured the safest objective in the game. It was always a given that we were going to lose the battle outright, but forcing the enemy to come to me with a one-way path just meant I could slowly whittle away at their numbers until we achieved our goal. Outnumbered 30-1, I did what I do best and camped my ass off.
We need more troopers like you. How many is there?
With the enemy numbers down to just 5, I borrowed a tank and began hunting down the remaining soldiers. Next up was Yavin 4. This gave me a ton of issues as the Republic, but as the Empire, it's one of the easiest battles of the war. I did purchase the Shock Trooper, which are just the dudes with rocket launchers, but I wanted to have multiple ways to deal with enemy tanks since they've been causing the most problems for us. With that though, I grabbed a tank of my own and got to work steamrolling the rebels off of one of their safe havens. And when I say steamroll, I mean it. The entire battle took less than 4 minutes, during which I killed 26 soldiers and blew up 10 tanks. Just an absolute shit pumping. You can tell the rebels are getting desperate and are trying to go for these big victories in Coruscant and Endor instead of just trying to stall me, which I think is pretty funny. I don't know why they've stopped counterattacking me, but it's making my life incredibly easy considering Coruscant is one of, if not my all-time favorite maps in the game. I went with a different approach this time though, opting for the library command post instead of running on the left side. I figured this is a fight we should probably win outright, but I can maybe speed it up by swooping right, since the majority of the carnage takes place in the center and left flank. This ended up being a terrible strategy when I realized that there's no healing droids in the back of their spawn. After taking a shit ton of damage and almost dying, I opted to retreat back up the ramp and head back to the library and fight there. By this point though, we were down over 20 reinforcements and my absence on the battlefield was felt everywhere. And even though I fought like hell to get some momentum back, I once again found myself in a last stand, heavily outnumbered. With no other choice, I retreated up into the archive room and made my way back to our original spawn to hold a better defensive position there.
The command post is no longer under Empire control. Our numbers are being depleted.
And after I secured that, I began pushing back into the library and the outskirts of the battlefield, slowly picking off the remaining rebel troops.
We've captured a command post.
I even switched to a scout trooper so that I could drop a turret in the center of the map.
Big reinforcements.
Now you may be asking yourself, did he just hit a 360 no-scope for the final kill? Yes. Yes, I did. See, I grew up on the Modern Warfare 2 Rust battlefield, and in the wise words of Toby Keith, I ain't as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. The assault of Kashyyyk, unlike the Coruscant battle, was incredibly easy. Mainly because I just posted up with the scout trooper, threw on enhanced blasters, and had a field day. Who knows, maybe I'll do a little sniping MLG montage. You know what? Fuck it. Let's do that.
I'm kind of retarded.
Oh! Oh my god! Oh! Oh my
Nothing to see here, just an easy 67 kill game without having to leave the middle of the map. I'll take it. With an easy victory under our belt, it was back over to Naboo to defend against a last-ditch rebel invasion. The battle started off much the same as the last one. We pushed in, capped a command post, and were able to sandwich the enemy troops in the infamous corner spawn point. We fought like hell, and I even took a few sniper blasts to the chest, but that's why we run back to tanks. I mean, it also helps that I'd earned the damage reduction bonus by that point, otherwise I would 100% would have died there. At this point, I ran back, healed up, and swapped over to the Dark Trooper because these guys are awesome. They've got a jetpack and a lightning rifle that can be charged up to insta-kill multiple enemies, so I used that in conjunction with my precision pistol to finish off the rebel assault.
Hostile reinforcement count is diminishing. Watch your flank. A command post for the Empire. Hostile. It's on standby.
All we have left is Megiddo, Polis Massa, and Hoth. And a few more space battles, of course. In this instance, I chose to leave the enemy frigate because this is the same positioning that I'd lost earlier space battles to while trying to take it out. The enemy just swarms me when I get close to it, so instead, I just peppered the enemy shields with bombing runs until I got close enough to try and enter the enemy hangar. I say try because initially, it felt like I was meeting Troy Polamalu in the A-gap and got absolutely pancaked, almost ending the run. Luckily, I was able to recover and successfully land inside the ship and begin causing chaos like I love to do.
Target that bomber and take him down.
Their life support systems have been destroyed.
We need more troopers like you.
Our shields have been disabled. Their engines have been destroyed. The day is ours. Well done, gentlemen.
Come to think of it, I don't think I've ever had a game where I dropped 70 plus kills in a space battle. This may be a first for me as well.
Please select a
Alright,
destination.
time for Megiddo. I wasn't taking any chances here, and opted for the simple approach of tank warfare. The rebels tried an interesting strategy, straight out of Attack on Titan, and just kind of suicide charged me, which, again, doesn't really work when you're running directly into two fully operational tanks. Anyway, After that was handled, I posted up right in the center and forced the rebels to continue walking directly into my line of sight.
We've captured a command post. Hostile reinforcement count.
Easily one of the most overwhelming victories of the entire playthrough. In preparation for the final push, I purchased a new Star Destroyer so I didn't have to travel like 20 turns to the other end of the map, a Space Marine troop to deal with the Rebel defense, and 2 sets of Bacta tanks. While I angled myself towards Polis Massa, the Rebels attempted to take Mustafar. A bold move. Stupid, but bold. Since they went with auto turrets, I figured it'd be smart to fight where they don't have them, such as the center of the map. So I ran in and blew up the bridge controls to prevent us from wasting time and reinforcements on an objective that ultimately wouldn't matter. From there, I swapped over to an engineer and helped contain the rebel attackers until their numbers dissipated, leaving us victorious. It's time. I don't know why I didn't start with this, because playing it as the second to last map was such a boneheaded and overly risky move. Let's get this over with. We already know exactly how this is gonna go. Oh wow, can you believe it? Who could have possibly seen this coming?
Great shooting! We're losing reinforcements. Hold your ground! Keep going! Take them down! We've lost the command post. Take it back! Our reinforcements are thinning. Save some for the rest of us. Reinforcement count is diminishing.
As I hunted down the final rebels, the lone survivor took off in a tank. I tried to slice into it, but they were just too fast and ended up getting away, only for them to jump out of it and die from suffocation just around the corner. Gotta love it. With one last-ditch effort, the rebels tried to take Mustafar yet again. I wasn't about to risk the entire playthrough for this, so I grabbed a sniper class and hid out on those giant metal rods that Obi-Wan and Anakin fight on.
We've lost the command post. Fight for it. We've lost control of a command post. We've lost the command post. Fight for it. We've captured a command post. We need more troopers like you.
An easy win, no doubt, but it set the stage for one final battle.
Commencing Hoth invasion.
To get a good foothold and basically guarantee a victory, I started as a simple ground soldier. The rebels have a ton of turrets that are able to help take down the AT-ATs, and if they do that, they'll win outright. So the only way to prevent that from happening is to push in and destroy said turrets.
We've lost control of the command post.
With the turrets destroyed, I made my way back over to the AT-ATs, narrowly avoiding death. Now comes the carnage.
A command post has fallen to our enemies. Our reinforcements are thinning. Our reinforcements are thinning. Numbers are being depleted.
As the battle began to wind down, Lord Vader entered the battlefield to finish the job. Now this proved much more difficult than I anticipated though, and we came within a literal second of losing the battle after all of our command posts had been captured.
Reinforcements are thinning. The command post is no longer under Empire.
There was also a brief moment of panic where I couldn't find the final soldier and was bleeding health, but I located the final sniper down by the destroyed generator, and with that, we've officially cleansed Hoth and the galaxy of all traces of the rebel scum. Here are my career stats on this account after 2 galactic conquests. We're up to Captain now as a rank with 3,900 total points and 2,185 kills. Since you guys yearn for my pain and suffering, I've included most of the deaths from my earlier attempts as well. Seriously, it was one of the most commented things on the Empire video, you fucking psychos. But I am for the people, so let's walk through them. Real quick, before I forget, I'm also trying something new with recording these and doing it in a windowed mode instead of a full screen mode, so let me know if you prefer this aspect ratio or the old one from the first 2 videos. My first attempt lasted, I don't know, 3 minutes? And, I mean, come on, some people think that's an average amount of time. You wouldn't want to go too long, right? Then it'd just get boring. It's probably almost better to finish fast like this, and then you still have time and energy left for other things, like Legos or something. My second attempt was a bit longer, and I managed to make it through most of the battle before exploding. One thing I completely forgot about with super battle droids is the fact that they have a built-in super shotgun with unlimited ammo. I wish I was joking. Oh, and it's fucking lethal and can one-shot a clone from several feet away. Admittedly, I got way too overconfident with it. I ended up overextending and was subsequently blown up behind enemy lines. It took until my third attempt to actually land a wrist rocket kill. Super exciting, I know, but for whatever reason, they just feel very lackluster when I use them. Maybe it's because I'm used to catching one to the face instead of aiming at the clone's feet, but I don't know, they just felt like a lot weaker compared to when I was on the receiving end of one of them. Anyway, this was another quick out for me, and one of those where you just say, fuck this map, we're doing something else. And by something else, I mean a space battle over Dagobah. I gotta say, I love the droid spaceships. All of them. The fighters, the bombers, the landing cruiser. They all look and play amazing. Especially the bomber. A few of you had pointed this out in previous videos, but the CIS bomber is easily the best one in the game. It just full dumps its entire kit in less than a second instead of slowly dropping one bomb at a time, which allows you to just melt enemy defenses. Also, real quick, why the fuck did the Republic cruisers get 3 frigates with them? How is that fair? This isn't just a one-off instance either, this happens multiple times throughout the playthrough. Anyway, with the frigates destroyed, I tried to do something daring and take on the enemy destroyer from space instead of landing in the hangar. Naturally, this ended exactly how you were expecting it to. For my 5th attempt, I actually had a good run going. Tatooine was smooth sailing for the most part, just capturing command posts and walking through the clones on my way to a 45 kill victory. On to Camino. Fuck. Going into my 6th attempt, I changed up my strategy, purchasing an engineer droid and jumping into a space battle. Much like every other space battle, I hopped in a bomber and got to work destroying the enemy frigates. This time, however, instead of trying to do another bombing run on the destroyer, I simply landed inside it like I've done in the past. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Honestly, this was kind of the motto for the CIS run. What I've noticed is that when I rush in with no patience, it always ends in death. But the moment I sit back and just move methodically, I just start cakewalking planets. And I think I've pinpointed why. See, I start recording these at like 7 in the morning after chugging a monster and getting ready for the day. And I'm dead serious when I say that. My daughter goes to daycare at 7, and I'm down and recording by 7:15. I then die on repeat for about 2 or 3 hours before I sit back and go, what the hell am I doing? Why not just stop rushing in? And that's when I get the good runs. And in this instance, that all started on Naboo. I'm just kidding. This went on for another hour or 2. I'd get like 2 or 3 wins and then immediately die, much like the last 2 videos. It wasn't until my 15th or 16th reset that I actually got my full run in, and funny enough, it all started with Polis Massa. I figured, for once in these runs, let's not wait until the final planet to tackle this one. After trying and failing several times, I decided to just avoid the main battle altogether, and instead grab a tank and head out into the void. After securing a 30 reinforcement lead, I headed into their furthest back command post and began the process of taking them from behind, no diddy. As I approached the second command post, I noticed that I could just swap into the secondary turret on the tank and absolutely farm the clones as they funneled down this one hallway. That was until another droid saw an opportunity to be a hero and stole the tank from me. Not to worry though, another tank had spawned in, so I just grabbed that and got back to work.
Victory is inevitable.
Oh, fun fact, if you're the droids, you don't take damage while out in void, since, they don't breathe. Next up was a space defense of Geonosis. This was one of the more gritty space battles of the playthrough for sure. The frigates weren't really an issue, I only had to turn away one time to make repairs, but good god did they put up stiff resistance over the engines for some reason. They almost killed me several times during this entire process. I thought it was pretty funny though. They sold out to kill me in the engines room, but then I finally leave the room and head into the auto turret defenses, you know that main room, and there's no one there. So then I blow that up and head into the life support room, and then they all come funneling in once again. It's like they just had to take a quick coffee break and then come back to the fight.
Our life support systems have been destroyed. We have crushed the enemy. Roger, roger.
This was followed up by yet another space battle over the same planet while I maneuvered into an attack position. For this battle though, I tried to spice things up a bit and grabbed the landing cruiser instead of my normal bomber. Why? Well, I couldn't quite tell you why. I think I was just getting a little bored of pulling the same trick over and over again. I gotta say though, the landing cruiser may be slow, but it does consistent damage and can take an absolute beating, especially when it's fully loaded with all guns functional. I only had one instance the entire battle where I almost died, and that didn't come until I was targeting the enemy ship's command bridge. This would mark the first space battle of the entire series so far that I won without landing in the enemy capital ship. But let's take a short break from space battles and do something a little more exciting, like invading a planet currently housing trillions of people. I went ahead and purchased the engineer class for this run, but the clones countered by deploying a garrison. Probably one of the smartest moves the enemy has ever pulled, considering, and I know I've said it multiple times by now, but this is my favorite map. This was an odd battle to say the least, and by that I mean not much happened. About 95% of the entire fight took place in this one hallway here, where my main concern was just not giving up the command post behind me. It'd go something like this. I'd pop out, maybe get a few kills, take some damage, retreat back to that command post and heal up, repeat as needed. And I did this about 3 or 4 times until the clones deployed their garrison bonus, but even that didn't seem to help them. Sure, they took the lead back with it temporarily, but it didn't seem to matter if they had to survive this killbox-styled setup we had going on. Doubling up on this victory, I went ahead and attacked Tatooine. I feel like the clones are actually using decent bonuses compared to the CIS and Rebels, who would just spam energy boost and supplies over and over again. Like, these guys went ahead and grabbed a garrison, and then followed that up with another garrison on this one. I don't know, maybe they're just getting lucky on a random pool, but it feels like they're a little more tactical in how they deploy their bonuses, and I really like that. This fight was rough, and I'm not even sure why. Maybe it was the extra troops, or maybe we just suck on this planet, but we got our asses whooped. I spent most of the battle fighting for my life over one single command post.
Command post under enemy control. Reinforcements are being depleted. We must win. The Confederacy is
Like, look at this deficit. This was the first time in the series that I basically just gave up and hid, letting them cap the final command post and accepting defeat, surviving to fight another day. It was such an embarrassing loss that even the game couldn't handle it. I'll consider that the game throwing me a bone though, there's not really much I can do about that. Instead of repeating the battle, I continued in the top of the galaxy and pushed into Mygeeto.
commencing Mygeeto invasion.
The clones took the rebel approach and suicide charged me at the very start, but luckily for me, I went with the tank approach. Now, sure, this led to a few battle droids getting turned into scrap metal, but maybe they should just get the fuck out of the way next time and it wouldn't be a problem. I don't know. Seems like common sense to just not stand directly in front of a tank, but apparently that's still a problem for both the droids and Chinese citizens. This was another very easy battle, considering I could just sit in a tank the entire time and blow shit up whenever I pleased. On the off chance that we ended up taking too much damage, I can simply move out of the way, hop out, repair the tank, and then continue on my warpath. With the credits received from Coruscant and Mygeeto, I purchased the Droideka troops, and what better place to try them out on than Utapau. To get the points needed to unlock them, I simply capped a command post and hopped in a tank. After racking up a few kills, I retreated back, swapped over to the Droideka, and got to work. These things are so damn cool. They melt clone troopers, and obviously with the mini ray shields, you can post up with them and hold entire lanes by yourself, as long as you don't let the grenades get too close to you. Now if you do need to retreat or reposition, you can just drop them down into the armadillo mode and roll out fast as fuck. I'm not even kidding, if you sprint with them, they fucking zoom. Also, first person mode looks sick. After only a few minutes, we were already up almost 50 reinforcements on them, with the clones pushed back to a single command post. So I went and hid behind a health droid and let the droid's army wrap up the battle for me. And that got boring really fast though, so I ended up rolling back over and cleaning up the remaining clones.
The Confederacy is in control of another command post.
With a successful defense of Utapau, I kept up the momentum and invaded Naboo, throwing on combat shields as a bonus. The only annoying part about the Droidekas is that you need to get 12 points before they unlock, which means I've got to get some kills or capture a few command posts before I get the chance to use them in every battle. While doing this, I had a near-death experience, but thankfully, I've played this map enough to know where some of the Bacta droids are hidden, such as up on the second floor balcony. I swapped over to the Droideka as soon as it was available, and got to work pushing into the clone flank.
Reinforcement count is dropping.
When we'd all but secured the infamous corner, I looped back around and put pressure on the courtyard, ultimately securing it and pushing the clones back to just one command post.
A command post is under Confederacy control.
Can you guess where the remaining clone troopers are? Here, I'll give you a hint. With Naboo under our control, the clones countered with an invasion on Geonosis, using only energy boosts as their bonus. I take it back, these guys don't know what the fuck they're doing. This was one of those fights where you go into it knowing you're gonna steamroll, so I took the opportunity to try out some of the droid tanks and spider walker thing, starting with the Hellfire tank. Now this thing is sweet, but it's a pain in the ass to control. One of those vehicles where it looks cool when you see it in action, but it's better left to the bots. When I'd gotten some use out of it, I jumped out, captured a clone command post, and began making my way back to try out those spider walker things. I will say, I really liked that the clones used the Phase 1 armor for this battle, and I wish there were more battles in Galactic Conquest where they used it, because I don't actually know of any others outside of Geonosis where they do wear this armor. Anyway, onto the spider walkers. Talk about a stupid design. Imagine seeing this on an actual battlefield. You could probably hit this thing in the legs with a baseball bat and take it out. To be honest, the droid tanks on Geonosis are very underwhelming. But I guess that makes sense though. You kind of want that to be the case, especially when you have the benefit of infinite flying bug people at your disposal. Regardless, another victory for the Separatists. To celebrate, I purchased both the Assassin and Assault droids and invaded Dagobah. The clones threw on another garrison bonus, but I wasn't too worried about it. I went as an Assassin droid for this battle, opting to take a break from the Droideka class. This was mainly due to the landscape of the planet. It's tough to navigate as a normal soldier, so I can't imagine how painful it'd be to try and work through this as a Droideka. Not to mention, Assassin droids are incredibly nimble and hard to hit, so they're much easier to work with on a planet like Dagobah. Also, their sniper rifle looks dope in first person. The only downside to sniping is that you can get hit with the beam rifle as a reward, and I hate it. Actually, I don't think there's anything I hate more in this game than the beam rifle. It's so bad. You like having variable zoom? Gone. You like being able to have a centered reticle that hits enemies on sight? Gone. How about insta-damage? Gone. Nothing will make me permanently switch to a pistol faster than accidentally swapping to the beam rifle from the standard sniper, and I stand by that.
Victory is ours!
With Dagobah under our control, we now own 8 of the 13 planets in the galaxy, meaning we're closer to the end than the beginning. But don't worry, there's still some incredible battles to come. Before we get to those though, we've got to muck through some space battles. To try and get through them more quickly, I purchased the Sabotage bonus and headed to battle. This scene was, once again, entirely fought without entering the enemy hangar. No real reason as to why, I'm just having fun with bombing runs compared to running in with a pistol every time.
Their frigate has been destroyed. No fighters coming around. Their life support systems have been destroyed. Accurate shooting. Their bridge has been destroyed. Main engine has malfunctioned. We have crushed the enemy. Roger, roger.
This fight was followed up with yet another space battle. Only this time, no sabotage bonus, so it's back to basics. And by basics, I mean taking the boarding ship, blowing up the enemy frigates, getting into a few dogfights, and ultimately landing in the enemy hangar with a team of droids. Though none of them are Marines, so maybe this wasn't the best strategy to implement. But as it turned out, it was maybe the best strategy we could have come up with. With all the droids flooding into the enemy hangar, none of the clone pilots could get to their ships. And while we were busy making it too difficult to leave, I snuck through the vault doors and blew up the auto turret defenses before looping around to the life support room, securing yet another space battle win for us. Onto Kashyyyk, and what was quite possibly the fastest battle of the series to date, coming in at 3 minutes and 27 seconds. So how did it all unfold? Well, simple really. Because we've been grinding out this account for 2.5 galactic conquests now, I'm perma-unlocking some bonuses like damage increase, making sniping much more lethal, especially when it's paired with enhanced blasters. After taking the beach, I hopped into a tank, spit on it, and crammed myself through the tight doorway. No Diddy once again. Shout out to Fear John for the tip on this one. I appreciate you, sir. Once the gate was down, it was an absolute bloodbath. I mean, they didn't stand a chance. Another victory for the Separatists means another counterattack for the clones. This time, attempting to retake Naboo. They even threw on a little garrison bonus, isn't that adorable? I started off with a tank, mainly because I hate those little walker tanks that the clones have. But once I'd blown up a few of those, I pushed in and grabbed the side command post, swapping to a droidica following that moment. From there, it was a healthy dose of overwhelming force, pushing the clones back into R. Kelly's corner, and then hosing them out. I chose to withhold bonuses from Yavin 4 since this seems to be a battle that the droids and Empire just win outright. So instead of putting extra stress into it, I just hopped back into a tank and repeated the same method I did with the Empire. While I waited for the final enemies to be hunted down, I did start messing around with one of the speeder bikes, and almost launched myself into the stratosphere after taking it off a sweet jump. Can you imagine if this was the thing that ended my run? How embarrassing would that have been? Thank God that didn't happen. Alright, let's go. Once again, the clones tried to take Geonosis, and once again we managed to push them back without any bonuses. This was another incredibly lopsided victory for us, and looking back at it, those tend to come from the battles where I choose a sniper class. In this instance, however, I did notice that the clone snipers were targeting me more often than other troops had in the past. There were at least 6 different times where I would sight in on someone, only to realize that it was a clone sniper already aiming at me. I just happened to be faster on the trigger. Anyway, as the battle began to wind down, I swapped over to the assault class and started firing rockets at the enemy tank. Funny enough, it finally pivoted and began firing at me, almost killing me multiple times, but it was simply too late, and one final rocket was all I needed to do it in.
Confederacy is in control of the enemy reinforcements falling. Roger, roger.
With the influx of points I'd been stashing, I purchased the Magna Guard and Droid Marine. I also went ahead and purchased a garrison bonus before invading Felucia. You can call me a bitch for this all you want, but with the conquest almost wrapped up, there was no way in hell I was taking any chances on a map like Felucia. Let's be real, we've all been cooked on this map more times than we'd like to admit, so why risk it? I already have the high ground. So I just sat back with an assassin droid and slowly picked off any clones that made their way over. And even with this bitch-ass strat, I still almost got taken out by an enemy sniper, who missed me by literal pixels. Even after all the sniping, the garrison, and starting with the high ground, I still found myself in yet another last stand. Come to think of it, I don't think there's been a single match on Felucia that didn't end with my death or a one-man army on the hilltop. With only a few enemies remaining, I hopped into a tank and began hunting them down. Why a tank and not just on foot? Well, because they love to sit back as snipers in their command posts, and snipers can one-shot me. Not worth the risk. They also blend in really well with the surroundings, since the snipers wear camouflage. No worries though, they still love to yeet grenades at tanks and then walk directly in front of them. I do think it's a little funny how the clones just alternate between Geonosis and Naboo. That being said, I think I hate Naboo. Like, sure, it's got the infamous corner, but I don't know, there's just something about it that puts a bad taste in my mouth. Because of this, I once again started in a tank, and after about 2 minutes of fucking around, I got bored and moved on over to the Magna Guard to switch things up. Now these guys are dope as hell. They've got a semi-auto pistol that fires rockets, a grenade launcher, a recon drone that can self-destruct, and a poison gas they can release. Overall, just a ton of fun, and if you've got a good spot, you can even spawn kill enemies with the rockets. Seriously, if you typically avoid them, I highly recommend giving them a try. They're not my all-time favorite class, but they're definitely far from the worst. Alright, back to Tatooine. This fight was, for the most part, controlled, I guess is the word to say. There was only one real moment that made me clench my cheeks so hard that I almost went to the hospital. And just look at my health here. Reminder, there are, including this one, 2 planets left. After changing my clothes, I sat back down, swapped to a Magna Guard droid, and cleaned up what was left of the clone defense team. At this point, we've got Camino completely surrounded, forcing them to commit to one final space battle instead of risking a lucky grenade during a ground invasion. I went ahead and applied a sabotage bonus and hopped in the landing cruiser to board the enemy ship one final time. After taking out the frigates, of course.
Their frigate has been destroyed.
Attention, Victor Echo 1-2. Come in. Repeat. Victor Echo 1-2.
Proceeding on course. Proceeding on course. Our shields have been disabled. And fire with the material of our shield.
Bomber incoming.
Their undercurrent defenses have been disabled. Their engines have been destroyed. We have crushed the enemy. Roger, roger. Their life support systems have been destroyed.
All that stands between us and total supremacy is Camino. This is a tough fight on its own merit. The center of the map is a colossal shit show, so I tried to avoid that as much as possible. Instead, I chose to hang back and opted for an assassin droid so I could pick off enemies from relative safety. As the battle began to wind down, a rogue bounty hunter entered the battle to secure a victory for the Separatist Trade Federation. It's honestly a bit fucked up if you think about it, because they're literally cloning Jango Fett, right? That's the canon event, is he's the one that's being cloned to make the clone troopers. But you can use him as a hero against the clones on Camino? You know, the planet where they're actively housing him and his son? I don't know, I just thought that was funny.
Enemy reinforcements are thinning.
After completing 3 of the 4 conquests, here is where we're at. 5,362 points, 2,890 kills, the rank of Captain, and legendary bonuses applied to Guardian, which gives damage reduction, Endurance, self-explanatory, and War Hero, which gives increased damage. You may be a bit shocked to hear this, given how many attempts the previous run-throughs took, but for the Rebel playthrough, I managed to complete the entire conquest in just my 2nd run. Even on the initial run, I was able to make it pretty far, and only died once I made it to Felucia. On to the full run though, because it's actually much more interesting. Mainly because I started with Polis Massa. I know they start you over on Yavin 4, but to me, it made more sense to start by Hoth and work my way up and over, instead of starting basically smashed in between several planets. I think most of this playthrough can be summed up by saying, I played it safe. And Polis Massa was no exception. I started out the fight by hopping into a tank and putting in some work against the stormtroopers out in the void. Once I felt satisfied with that, I drove back through the airlock and began firing rockets down one of the hallways, spawn killing the stormtroopers at the expense of a few rebel lives. Once it was clear that the rebels held the advantage here, I drove over to the far back command post and
I started blasting. Bang! Bang!
this effectively sandwiched the stormtroopers between me and the rest of the rebel forces.
We've captured a command post. They're losing reinforcements.
Funny enough, after I captured this back command post, I was AFK writing marker notes for when I go back to edit all of this, and in that time, the stormtroopers came back through and recaptured it, forcing me to have to fight back and take it away from them yet again.
We've captured a command post. Hostile reinforcements.
After only a few more minutes of this, we were able to capture all of the command posts and simply wait out the timer for victory while the stormtroopers fucked around outside. Next up was Utapau. It was either that or Mustafar, and I wasn't ready for Mustafar yet, considering the only class I had was the basic rebel infantry. I'd feel much more confident once I had the smuggler. But Utapau is a great map to just run around as a normal soldier, so it made more sense for me to go there first. Normally I'd hang right and sit in that lane for most of the fight, but for whatever reason I decided to go left and head down into the more open area of the battlefield. This ended up working out for the best, since the stormtroopers just kinda wandered in through the open, while the rebels opted for cover of the left-hand side, even capturing both command posts down there.
We've gained a command post.
It took less than a minute for me to earn the award rifle, and once I got that, the battle might as well have been over with then. The only weird thing to happen during this fight was that we steamrolled the lower level, and I thought that was indicative of our battle strategy, only to open the map and see that the stormtroopers had basically done the exact same thing, but on the upper level. Coincidentally, this is where all their tanks were, too. Luckily, they didn't really make much of a difference, because we could just spawn kill the enemy at this point. After starting off strong with 2 planetary wins, we now found ourselves in the first space battle of the playthrough. The Empire had finally made their way over to Yavin 4, but I was more than ready for them. That being said, I hate the Y-Wings. They're my least favorite bomber. I don't know if that's just the design and how they look, or the fact that they drop their bombs in 2-round bursts, but I'm not a fan. It's not a huge deal though. They do have some strengths like the massive range boost on their bombs compared to like the droid bomber, so I took full advantage of that and targeted things like the destroyer's life support systems and engines from the outside. I'm hesitant to try to land in a hangar though. Much like the clones, the stormtroopers have a significantly smaller hangar than what I'm used to, so it's very likely that the interior would be completely covered in enemy pilots. This was a really close space battle though, all things considered. I was able to destroy basically every component on the enemy ship, and still had to rely on our pilots to win some dogfights to close it out.
Our sensors array has been destroyed. Their communications relay has been destroyed. Their bridge has been destroyed.
Right behind you.
Much like how I handled things with the previous Galactic Conquest, I would keep a fleet over Yavin 4 for the entire duration of this playthrough. Mainly because I didn't want to fight on Yavin 4. The only time I played on it as the quote-unquote good guys, I had to fight for my life in a last stand against like 30 droids, and I'm not too sure I'd be able to pull that one off again. After winning the first space battle, I went ahead and bought a smuggler class and some Bacta tanks, though I'd need to wait to use them considering the Empire initiated a second space battle. This time, however, I used the landing cruiser. Big mistake. Huge. This thing sucks. I thought it was going to be similar to the droid one, but no. It's got a finite amount of missiles, and they do next to no damage to enemy frigates, so it took forever just to bring 2 of them down. Not to mention how clunky this thing feels when you're maneuvering with it. Luckily, I managed to land it in the enemy hangar without killing everyone on board, and used the initial confusion we caused to slip through and begin working on the ship's interior controls.
Exiting vehicle. 10-4.
Their auto turret defenses have been disabled. Their life support systems have been destroyed. Their bridge has been destroyed. Their engines have been destroyed. Our sensors array has been destroyed.
To my surprise, this went much better than expected. Probably because they were so preoccupied with the dipshits who'd just been ballsy enough to land in the hangar, but I don't care. A win's a win. And what better way to celebrate a win than by invading another country, or in this case, planet, I guess. Naturally, most of the fighting is going to take place in that main war room area, so that's why I wanted to wait until I had the smuggler class. Most of my time was spent holding this one door right here. Oh, also, I don't know why, but I chose to fight most of this battle in first person. Just seemed cool at the time. Anyway, it didn't really matter what I did here. If I held the main room, pushed up the stairs, or pushed out near the lava. Anywhere I posted up, I'd sweat my ass off only to see us losing when I checked the scoreboard. That was, however, until I mounted a suicide mission and charged directly into the bulk of the enemy forces, killing well over 20 men and capturing several command posts.
We've lost a command post. We can't afford to keep losing command posts. The enemy has captured a command command post. They've already lost. They just don't know it.
This ultimately ended up flipping the battle and ending with us securing Mustafar for the Rebel Alliance. Now, having lost 3 planets and 2 fleets, the Empire decided to invade Dagobah. From what I remembered when I fought here as the Empire, they just lose outright. Call it bad spawn points or whatever you want, but it's very rare that they win here, so I used that to my advantage. The race was to capture Command Post 6 early, and begin spawning soldiers on their flank. While they scrambled to recover, I could retreat and heal up.
We captured a command post. They're losing reinforcements. We've lost control of the command post. We control the command post. They're losing reinforcements.
By that point, we were already building a small but comfortable lead. Now all I needed to do was hang back, kill some stormtroopers who overextended, and rely on the rebel soldiers to carry their weight and win me a battle. If this game's taught me anything though, it's that you can never rely on your teammates. We lost the lead by the time I made it back to the fight, and not just the lead, but the command post that I damn near sacrificed myself trying to capture. All this to say, I put on my big boy pants and marched back in, almost single-handedly retaking the command post and solidifying a strong lead for us to carry through for the rest of the battle. Well, at least until their garrison kicked in. Not that it mattered though, I was still able to hold the swamp by Luke's X-Wing and find the last stormtrooper attempting to capture a command post.
We've lost the command post. Hostiles have captured a command post. We're taking heavy losses.
With the credits received from the last 2 victories, I purchased the Sniper class and Enhanced Blasters. It'd be some time before we got to use any of them though. For now, it was on to Naboo. Naturally, we're at a pretty huge disadvantage considering we get the infamous corner spawns. The only way I could think to get around this was to be overly aggressive at the start. I spawned in the courtyard and successfully repelled the initial advance. As soon as I saw an opening, I sprinted face first into the enemy, capturing their closest command post. By this point, we'd already lost the courtyard, but that's okay. We could use this to continue looping around the backside, boxing the stormtroopers to the fountain spawn, and taking their tanks.
The enemy has captured a command post.
It was around this time where I got incredibly lucky. I might even say this was the luckiest moment in the entire series to date. While taking this command post, an engineer spawned behind me, without noticing. He managed to land half of his first shot, but completely whiffed his second shot, which would have easily killed me. The miss here allowed me to react and kill him, along with a few other stormtroopers, before successfully taking the command post and taking away the enemy tanks. Unfortunately, we were just a bit too slow, and the Empire had managed to capture the courtyard, allowing them to continue spawning in. Even with that, I stuck to the plan and captured the fountain command post, further squeezing the Empire. This played directly to our favor though, as the Empire grabbed the infamous corner objective, allowing them to spawn and get stuck over there instead of us, all but sealing their fate.
We can't afford to keep losing command posts.
On the side. Work on that turret.
The enemy has captured a command post.
Looking at the galaxy map, we control 7 of the 13 planets required for victory. But at a closer look, I think it's a bit misleading. We have to go grab planets like Endor, Coruscant, Kashyyyk, all of which we just win outright. The only places I'm worried about are Megiddo and Felucia, since they've always given me the most problems. I'll worry about that in a minute though. For now, it's another space defense battle. This was probably the toughest space battle of the entire series. It took several minutes just to blow up the enemy frigates, and even then, I had to constantly dodge laser cannon fire and drop back to the rebel cruiser to keep making repairs.
Bomber, on your tail. Toy bomber, behind you.
Their frigate has been destroyed.
After finally landing in the enemy hangar, I was immediately swarmed by hostile pilots. Fun fact though, as many of you were keen to point out in previous videos, you can actually heal up from behind these walls right here instead of standing on top of the machine itself. It just provides that little extra cover for you. And this was just something I've kind of learned to get used to though. The moment you enter any enemy hangar aside from just the droids, you're practically begging to get bent over the auto turret system.
Their auto turret defenses have been disabled. Line them up and knock them down. Our frigate has been destroyed. Their life support systems have been destroyed.
Luckily, I was able to push through and destroy both the enemy life support and engines. With their interior crumbling, I headed back out to the hangar to finish off any remaining pilots.
We are under attack. This is not a drill.
We won! Yeah!
Want to hear something incredibly depressing? I'm 10 credits short of being able to recruit Bothan spies. What a shame. To add insult to injury, I decided to invade Felucia, only to have the Empire pull out the garrison bonus on me. It's like, alright, I'm already gonna be in a last stand against 20 stormtroopers, why not add 50 more, right? What's the worst that could happen? Well, with that in mind, I did the same thing I did with the droids, which was sit on top of this hill with a sniper rifle and pick off easy targets while I wait for all of my reinforcements to get fed through a wood chipper. That's not even an exaggeration either. Like, it took less than 2 minutes for us to lose all of our command posts aside from the hill, and less than 3 minutes to be at a 30 soldier disadvantage, without the garrison. In less than 6 total minutes, we were already down to our final troops, which means it's time for the final stand. Luckily, I have main character syndrome, so let's get to it.
Our reinforcements are being depleted. The enemy has captured a command post. Our reinforcements are being depleted.
Line them up and knock them down.
Yeah, that showed him.
Their forces have deployed a reinforced garrison of troops.
By the time the defense of Hamburger Hill wrapped up, there were 7 stormtroopers left on the map. Make that 6. So I fell back on the tried and true method of hopping in a tank and hunting them down. Well, that was what I would have done if there wasn't a fucking AT-ST camping me outside of the C4 range. Now, I did notice that we had one more reinforcement left, all the way over at Command Post 1 in a tank of their own, or so it looked. Since I didn't have much of a choice, I dipped out and began making my way over to them.
You're going the wrong way.
I'm gonna be honest, I have absolutely no fucking clue how this thing's still standing. Talk about an insane amount of luck. And speaking of luck, I just so happened to be a smuggler with a repair tool on me, which meant we were able to fully recover and, together, begin hunting down the remaining stormtroopers, who, for whatever reason, all love to congregate at the same command post as snipers. With the snipers taken care of, I swung back over to finish the AT-ST off, and with that, we've got a 74 kill victory and complete control over the most difficult planet in this entire fucking game. As a way to celebrate our victory, I went ahead and purchased the Bothan Spy before moving our ship into attack position over Kashyyyk. Unfortunately, we'd have to wait to show off the Bothan Spy as the Empire moved in on Naboo, meaning it's time for yet another space defense battle. This was another gritty fight, and if I'm being honest, I think the Rebels are my least favorite faction to play as in space battles. I don't know if the ships just suck that much, or if the Empire is simply too powerful, and I think it's the latter. Mainly because they've got like a dozen turrets on their destroyer, so it's damn near impossible to do any bombing runs unless you're way out of range. Regardless, I was once again able to get in, fight my way through the hangar and into the life support room. And from there, I blew up their life support systems, their auto defense turrets, and their engines.
Our communications relay has been destroyed. Their life support systems have been destroyed. Their auto turret defenses have been disabled. Their engines have been destroyed. Our frigate has been destroyed. Our bridge has been destroyed.
After surviving a near-death experience, I noticed their shields were still up, so I ran into the shields room and began placing bombs on it.
Their shields have been disabled.
With the shields destroyed, all that was left for me to do was keep the remaining pilots occupied by blasting holes in their heads.
We won! Yes, sir!
Now we march on Kashyyyk, or rather, liberate it from a defensive position, because why the hell not? As much as I'd love to show off the Bothan Spy here, this isn't the battle for it. There's too much open cover, and they work way better when you have obstacles. For now, I'll stick to anti-armor cannons and sniping, thank you very much. Unfortunately, due to the garrison bonus, I ran out of ammo and was forced to swap over to the beam rifle, choosing to make the ultimate sacrifice for the good of the rebel cause. I know. I am very brave.
The enemy is in control of another command post. We can't...
I did take a very unnecessary run here and dove into a tank to finish off the final stormtroopers. Definitely didn't need to do that, but I was so tired of hearing the laser cannons go off that it was worth the risk. All that's left in the lower portion of the galaxy is Tatooine, and the Empire is doing everything in their power to make it as annoying as possible to take. Of course, by that I mean they keep fucking invading Naboo. There's not even anything cool there. The only hot chick on the planet died in childbirth, so that leaves, what, the Gungans? Darth Jar Jar? The infamous corner? What could they possibly want with this planet?
Back in the game.
You want to see some absolute bullshit? The fuck is up with friendly AI pilots and trying to kamikaze me? Regardless of my own team's attempts to stop me, I was able to successfully land in the enemy hangar and begin dismantling the ship from the inside out.
All reinforcements.
Roger that. 10-4. Affirmative. Their auto turret defenses have been disabled. Their engines have been destroyed. Their life support systems have been destroyed. We won! Yes, sir!
It's time, boys. I figured, what better place to try out the Bothan spy than on a planet like Tatooine? First, I need to get enough points to unlock them though, so let's get to it.
Hey, cover!
We captured a command post. Enemy reinforcements are declining.
These guys are elite. Think like a rogue in classic WoW. They've got a stealth ability that fully cloaks them from sight, an incinerator that just full-on deletes enemies before they even know what's going on, and the ability to regenerate health from nearby allies. This can be paired with back-to-tank bonuses, making you damn near invincible. And with all that being said, they are a lot of fun as something to mix up your playthrough, but they're not really my cup of tea. I don't mind them at all, I just prefer to do something a bit more action-packed and hands-on instead of hiding and waiting in stealth.
Reinforcements are dropping. We captured a command post. They're losing reinforcements. We gained a command post. They're losing reinforcements.
I'm taking you down, plastic boy!
The only problem with this attack is that it left Yavin 4 undefensible. Well, I guess it's only fitting that we duke it out here one last time. The Imperials opted for combat shielding, while I went with a garrison bonus. The plan was simple though. Sit right here and wait for the enemy. Snipe them at first, then swap to infantry for the burst rifle. As a last resort, move to the smuggler for healing. Yeah, even after deploying the garrison, we were still outnumbered by over 30 reinforcements.
Forces of the
I tried to get a few kills in, but it just wasn't worth the risk, so I fell back and waited patiently. A friendly reminder that we had a garrison, and this was still the outcome. Remember back during the Empire, I think it was, or maybe it was the Droids, but do you remember back when I had that huge last stand on Felucia, and I was like, this might be the best play I've ever had? I take it back. This is the best feat I've ever accomplished in Battlefront 2.
That's okay. I'll let you shoot them all.
We control the command post. We're taking heavy losses.
Using the Bothan Spy, I was able to go invisible, grab tanks, and slowly but surely begin dismantling the enemy armor. And when I say slowly, I mean slowly. This exchange took several minutes to pull off because I'd have to go hide and reset every single time. But over the course of about 10 minutes, I managed to pick apart the enemy tanks until there was only one left. At this point, I was fully out of my own tanks to use, so I had to rely on my time bombs. And I think this is why everyone loves this game. no matter your playstyle, no matter how good or bad you are at the game, everyone can find themselves in a last stand moment like this. And there's nothing quite like it. Like, no other game can replicate the adrenaline or the dopamine that you get just from winning something like this. It's something that I would say it's akin to like a once-in-a-lifetime battle, but it's not, because it's Battlefront 2, and this happens once a playthrough, maybe. And I just love it so much. And I think that's why a lot of people view this game as one of the best. Alright, I'm starting to ramble. Sorry. With Yavin 4 successfully defended, I purchased a new fleet and began the Megiddo invasion. Now, this was an absolute cakewalk, much like it has been for the majority of the series. I just did what I always do and hopped in a tank. While the Rebel tank primary weapons kinda suck against infantry, the missile launcher that comes duct taped to the top of it certainly makes up for it. Oh wow, I can't believe it. Another fucking space battle over Naboo. Jesus Christ. At this point, I was convinced that a space battle would be the death of me. I'm honestly just not enjoying them anymore at this point. I'm dreading having to play them, and it sucks, because this is the only time in my experience revisiting Battlefront that I felt this way. Anyway, I spent most of my time taking out the frigates and blowing up all the defense turrets of the ship's exterior. This would obviously make it a tad easier to hit the core systems, but we'd still have to deal with all of the TIE fighters. One of the biggest pain in the asses of the playthrough, without a doubt.
Their bridge has been destroyed. We won! Yeah!
You got an interceptor behind you.
With Naboo defended, it's time to once again go on the offensive. This time over to Coruscant. I like to think the Empire could feel us closing in around them. Like, there's 2 planets left, and I'm incredibly confident going into both, so let's get this done. I tried something different this time, and bum rushed the center of the map instead of along the flanks.
The enemy is in control of another command post. We gained a command post. The enemy has captured a command post.
Yeah, that showed up.
After holding the stormtroopers to their hallway, I looped around and pushed through the library. This continued up through the archives and into their original spawn before squeezing them into a side command post and ultimately walking away victorious.
Hostile reinforcements are dropping. Hostile reinforcements are dropping.
Funny enough, this beat out that Kashyyyk speedrun from the CIS Conquest, coming in at under 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Speaking of Kashyyyk, the Empire finally decided to attack somewhere not named Naboo. Can't imagine it'll do much for them, but fuck it, let's see. Much like last time, I did the tried and true method of tank busting and then swapping to my sniper.
How do you like that?
When I was low on ammo though, instead of swapping to the beam rifle, I jumped down into the sand and pushed back the stormtroopers on foot, ultimately securing another victory for the cause. For whatever reason, the Empire decided to dodge a space battle instead of defending their last planet in the galaxy, which was certainly a strategy of all time. If that's what they want to do though, I'm not going to stop them. Now the best way to secure Endor is to simply tell all the furries that the newest rainforest will be taking place there. They'll inevitably show up and start destroying the planet's inhabitants, and all we have to do is sit back and watch. With the battle winding down, a rogue hero entered the fray to help secure a final victory for the Rebel Alliance. Just kidding! As it turns out, you don't win fully until every last trace of your enemy is disposed of, which means, congratulations, you get one final bonus battle on Megiddo, thanks to the Imperial destroyer crash landing there.
Hostile reinforcements are dropping. We've lost the command post. We've lost the command post. Hostile reinforcements are dropping. We control the command post. Enemy reinforcements are declining.
Alright, Now, we've officially secured the final victory needed for world domination. Here are my overall stats at the end of our glorious run here. Throughout 4 galactic conquests, we managed to rack up 7,102 player points, achieving us the rank of General. We're responsible for the deaths of 3,712 individuals, achieved legendary status in Guardian, Endurance, and War Hero with elite status in Frenzy. Overall, a very decorated and well-respected career if I do say so myself. Thank you all so much for watching. Again, this has been one of the most fulfilling and happiest moments I've experienced as a YouTuber. To get to revisit these games I played as a kid and make videos on them and relive these moments again has just been so fucking amazing. So thank you all for giving me the platform to do this. It really does mean the world to me. Reading through comments and hearing about all of your favorite moments with this game, like playing split screen with family members, or that hero battle on Mos Eisley where you could do Boba Fett versus Mace Windu versus Darth City, it was just so awesome, and I love recapturing those moments with you guys. It's a ton of fun. If you have any other games you'd like me to go back and play or do some challenges on, send them my way. I know there's a few comments asking about KOTOR and Mass Effect, so let me know because that's the best way to gauge feedback from you all. With that, though, I'm going to get out of here. I appreciate you all. Watch those wrist rockets, and thanks for stopping by.